Andrew, I heard that your training works on a priority system. Could you explain us this, please, what it means for us?
Yeah, the use of muscle monitoring over the years has identified that there are certain principles of how people operate. So some of those basic principles are that we recuperate from the head down. That means that we change our attitude about things. All right? The second principle is that we recuperate from the inside out, and usually this relates to the expression of emotions. So we first change the mental, then we change the emotional. The third basic principle is that we will then do what we call retracing. That means we will actually relive physical symptoms that we had before. And this is like the brain going back and opening up old files to see what's in there, and when those files are opened up, it creates the same imbalances that we had back then. So this represents itself much more in the physical way, physical symptoms. And so we have these three basic principles of head down, inside out, and reverse order. Now, because our brain is measuring what happens to us in the sequence of events in our lives, it has like a reference for what has happened to us and what's still unresolved, whether that's from a suppression, whether that's from an inability of some sort, or a deficiency of some sort, or just we've never been taught what we need to know to deal with those situations. Whatever the reason is, there are things that are still left unfinished. So what happens then is that the subconscious has its own list of things that it wants to rebalance. It has its own list. In neurotraining, one of the first things that we do is we try and find out what the highest priority issue is for the person. Now, a person might come in and say, "Oh, I've got this bad back." Now, we don't necessarily ignore that, but usually they're wrong. Yes, as a symptom, yeah, the bad back is definitely there, but as a causative issue, they're probably not seeing what they need to. And we know that because if they were, they wouldn't have the problem anymore. So what we do is start off with the highest priority issue, and that may be the bad back, or it might be the emotional stress they have with their partner, or their divorce, or the legal situation they're in, or any number of possibilities. So while those things are still affecting their nervous system, they still represent their reaction to it in the same way, like a bad back. But the interesting thing is that when we have helped them to balance their reaction to the cause of what was going on, then those symptoms disappear. And sometimes they can disappear within one session. And then what happens is the subconscious says, "Wow, that's really great. Oh, fantastic. If we can do that with this, now let's move that energy that's now available into the next file," that retracing process, and opens it up. And so literally, if the person is able to resolve what is needed to be done in that file, the subconscious will open it up. The brain goes, yep. It closes it, puts it away, and we don't even notice it's happened. But sometimes the folder will open up and the subconscious doesn't know everything that it needs to know to be able to resolve what's in that folder. So the next time the person comes in for a session, they come in with a new set, old symptoms, but a new set of symptoms for their current experience. And what they have done is they've gone back and they've opened up a folder that they don't know how to close. So then we just help them to work out what they need to be able to close that folder. So they do, and they feel better. So then the next time they come in, all of those old symptoms are gone, and maybe new symptoms have come up. Again, they've opened up another folder. But every time we help them to do that, their head gets clearer, their emotions get better, their physical symptoms disappear, their energy becomes stronger. They know more about what they want in their life. Because quite often our own priority system is distracting us from what we want in our life. You know, we want lots of really good things in our lives, but we can't do it because our subconscious is thinking all the time about, oh, but you know, I have to fix this, and what about that other thing? And remember when you were divorced, you can't go near, you know, relationships again. And, you know, like we become so compensated to all of these other things, but they're in an order. And that's our own priority system. So in neurotraining, even by accident, we still find the same phenomenon coming up, is where a person will bring up an issue, and they're reversing the sequence of events that happened to them in their life in the first place. So instead of finding it by accident, we incorporated that into the methodology of a session procedure. So the first thing that we look for when a person comes in is, what is the highest priority issue? And we're not looking for what they think is the problem, we're looking for what is causing their state at any given time, particularly at the time that they come in for a session. So in the process then of rebalancing that, they will then sort that out, and then their subconscious will bring up the next issue. And that's what we call the priority system. And that's how we observe it in action. The consequence of that is that when we help a person to balance one issue, that tends to challenge the next thing in line. So, and that's really how our nervous system learns, is through overcoming challenge. And it does it itself, automatically, with itself. And so as we help a person sort out their priorities, literally, in the reverse order of how they were created, they get back to a state of understanding and clarity about who they are in themselves. Then they're not so influenced by the outside world and all the nonsense that goes along with that. So working with a person's priority system helps people to get better, faster. We actually work on the relevant issues instead of wasting a whole lot of time working on things that are not really going to have a long-term effect. But I think the most important thing is that the long-term effect of working with the priority system is it confirms and it strengthens those principles of how we recuperate in ourselves in the first place. Our head gets better, our heart gets better, and our body gets better. But they do it in sync with each other. So we have a new sense of who we are. So, working with the priority system really just makes sense.
Very interesting. So, Andrew, it was a big pleasure to have you here.
Oh,
Thank you very much, and see you later.
Okay, I'll be back again.